we have a solution. The Whine No Whine Show, where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour, where we gather people from all different walks of life and perspectives, and we talk about everything that everyone has told you not to. Religion, politics, and everything under the sun. Nothing is off limits, and we do it all over a glass of wine. So grab a glass and join us as we save America, one civil conversation at a time.
3, 2, 1, action!
And welcome. We have our new guests on the show today. Volume on the cell phone. Volume on the cell phone. those last second things, you know, that's the joy of doing live TV. That's why they don't do live TV anymore. It's like, it's hard.
It's messed.
Stuff messes up. Yeah, it's on the fly, and so you just learn to roll with it. I tell you what, this show has taught me more than, literally, not even close, hands down, more than anything in my life. This show has told me to roll with it, just to become okay. Show crashes 13 minutes in, cameras don't work, whatever. It's like, cool, we got one.
We'll figure
People
it out.
texting people.
Yeah.
Already going.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, you just learn to roll with it. Welcome to the Whine No Whine Show, the only show where you can be friended and offended all in the same darn hour. Right. Or-ish, hour-ish.
Hour-ish.
We have a fun topic today. We are going to be talking about identity politics and whether one group, pick your group, pick the subject, there's always a group, whether that group has the lock on talking about the subject. And you see it happen a lot, whether it's contentious subjects like abortion, and where women say, you're not a woman, you can't have a child, you have no business talking about this as a man. You see it in race issues. You see it in all sorts of issues. Name the subject, and someone somewhere is going to tell you that you have no business talking about it because you aren't in their group, right? So, what are your thoughts on that? Is that legit? Is that the way it should be? Does that group, whatever the group is, really have the high ground, so to speak? Is their opinion better, stronger, whatever, because they fit that group? Or can a person objectively talk about a subject without being in the group? What's your opinion? Share your thoughts. Chime in on the feed. As usual, the production crew is going to try to pick out some topics or topics. Yeah, we're just going to switch topics.
Right now.
Yeah, on the fly. Whatever. Suggest topics. We'll switch topics.
Don't do
that's
that.
how you
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Production crew is going to pick out some comments along the way, we hope, and throw them up on the screen, and we'll react to them and get y'all's opinion brought into the show as well. The show is changed by you guys. So, before we dig in and let our guests introduce themselves and give their shameless plugs, which is part of their exorbitant pay package that they get for being on the show, the rest of it I already poured into the glass. So
Yeah, you stole her wine, by the way. You switched glasses around. That one you need to pass over.
How did that happen?
Just say.
I haven't even drank out of it, so there you go. I just held it to.
You just held it.
I just held it for
show
you know.
purposes.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Prop.
Just wanted to make sure it had the proper balance.
You know,
Right.
I just had to embarrass you. That's all. I had to call you out.
I'm glad you did, because I would have been drinking hers, and then I would have drank mine. Because that wouldn't have stopped me. All right, so you guys chime in on that subject, and I'm going to tell you all about the wine we're drinking on the show today. It is called Lazy Lab, and I totally forgot to take a picture and give it to the production crew, so that's on me, not them. Lazy Lab, and it's from California. It's a California Sonoma Valley wine. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not. It's a different region. I remember reading that. Oh, darn. It's a different region. It's a different it's a Northern California wine. Gosh, I can't tell you the from off the top of my head now.
It's good, everybody.
So anyway, it's a Chardonnay from California. The palate offers a rich blend of tropical fruits with hints of golden apple. A touch of oak aging provides a creamy finish where flavors of Meyer lemons emerge. An excellent example of this varietal and very true to type. So, we're going to drink on this bottle here. As a reminder, especially for the new guest on the show, we'll probably easily kill the bottle in like 10 minutes. And then we're going to drink box wine.
Before we get into the
We're
segment,
not
we'll kill the
winos.
bottle.
Right. So, and we rate the wine at the end of the show. So kind of get your rating in your head, now.
We rate the box.
Nope.
We're going to rate this.
I'm out on the box.
I'm out on the box.
I'm
I don't
from
want-
Willis, but I'm out on the box.
It's, Vela Chardonnay is pretty good. I'm just going to say. If you haven't had
I'm
it.
just gonna say.
I'm not a wine snob. I've had expensive
I'm
wine
a
and
cheap
cheap wine.
I'm a cheap wine snob.
So-
I love my cheap wine.
A cheap wine snob. She looks down on some cheap wines.
Yes. Oxymora on there.
What's your price range? $4.50.
Oh girl, Aldi has Winking Owl for $2.97.
Wow.
Just saying.
Wow.
And it's legit.
Tell me the type of wine you like. I will tell you the box wine to get.
Yep.
I've experimented with them all, so I can dial
He's
that in.
experienced.
I'm experienced on my in my box wine. So we will rate this wine at the end of the show, and the guests will share what their thoughts are on it at the end of the show. So stick around, and I'll share a picture of the bottle and the rating tomorrow on our Instagram page. So make sure you follow us on Instagram because that's the only place that will exist. So.
Exclusive.
Yes, absolutely. So I got to give you a reason to hop over there. And depending on how lively the conversation, we go live on Instagram sometimes after the show. So, just that's on the fly, kind of like Big Brother behind the scenes kind of a thing. Throw up the camera. We don't even really pay attention to the camera.
Exactly.
So, all right. I always start over here to my left. I will let you introduce yourself, Kate, and give your shameless plug.
Sure. I am Kate Davis. I'm with Crescent Creative Group. That's my branding firm. So you can find us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Our website is pretty.
It is.
Thank you.
It is pretty.
And I didn't plan a shameless plug. I forgot about that little part. So that's my shameless plug.
There you go.
You just did it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Crescent Creative.
Crescent like the moon.
Yes.
Creative Group.
And a phenomenal graphic artist.
Yes.
Thank you.
Apart from the Art Institute, I taught her everything she knows.
That's actually an accurate statement.
It's like, your whole education where you actually learn to do what you presently do. Apart from that, I taught you everything
Apart from
you know.
that, he taught me everything else.
Hi. My name is Amber Cole. I work for JLA Real Estate all over the Houston area. I run a awesome little team. Well, 30-ish. That's little. No, not that little.
At JLA, it's little. I mean, he's got like a gabillion realtors now.
Yeah, that's our goal is to get to
All of them.
have a sign
To get all of them.
out front that says a gabillion served.
Yes.
We're for that.
You and McDonald's, just right next to each other. Yeah.
So-
John's awesome. I've known him I've known him since he had like 30 agents total.
Yeah. So we're 14 offices strong now, and
Last I heard, like 800 something.
yeah,
That's
about 800
insane.
agents for a boutique firm, so not
Wow.
too shabby.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they're rocking and rolling.
Oh.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my gig.
Right
That's
on.
my gig. It's cute. Reminds me of Kim Possible. What's the sitch?
My name is Mark Ortel. I'm a laboratory scientist.
I'm a baby.
Have technologists, will travel.
I love it.
Yeah, as of next week, I'll be in the great state of Georgia. I've been recruited by a hospital there,
Oh,
right
nice.
outside of Atlanta, to go there and preserve life.
All right.
As I said, I do all the laboratory testing. All that the doctor doesn't know, he relies on me to give those results.
Nice.
So, leaving Texas, regrettably, but
Yeah, that is tragic.
yeah, but off to a new adventure.
Well, Texas will miss you.
Yes, I will miss Texas.
Texas will always be home for you.
It will.
Very cool.
What up? What up, though?
The return! The return of the infamous Cindy G!
I'm back.
I feel like we should have like WWE music playing or something.
Yes.
It's like
Come on,
leap over the
DJ.
couch.
We need to have
I can-
individual songs for all of the guests.
Oh yeah, you
Little
know
intro
what?
songs.
That's our
That would
individual-
take like half the show. That'd be Twitch
That's all
time.
right. We'll have to extend the show, Joe.
Like dive off the
I would
couch
love
like a
to just spend an
turnbuckle.
hour talking about what my theme song would be. That would be my
I don't have to have like a what do you call it? not a melody. What do you call it? We
Oh,
have
man.
several songs.
A mashup. A mashup.
Montage.
No, come on.
Oh,
you
man.
musicians.
A mixtape?
No, I know.
Joe,
I know.
Joe, I know you got it. Not melody.
No.
It's
No. Had you not said melody?
If I had not said it, I threw it on.
No.
We're going to come back to that,
Yes.
and I'm going to go ahead and tell you who I am. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Cindy Goodson, a.k.a. Cindy G of the Cindy G Project. My goal is to help you design the life you desire to live while living in the body you love to love. Now, but class is open, okay? So I currently teach a class, an 8-week course for women, focusing on fibroid healing in particular and other womb issues and anything else that you have in your bodies that you want to correct, undo, reverse. Then I'm your girl. I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I'm excited because I recently partnered up with my mentor, Dr. Baxter Montgomery of Montgomery Heart and Wellness, and I'm going to be hanging out over there a few days a week as a wellness coordinator and a
That's
nutritionist.
awesome.
So, yay! It's exciting. Class is open. If you want to get in the next course, let me know. Give me a shout out on Facebook, Cindy L. Goodson. Hit me on Instagram at I am Cindy G. And I would love to speak to you and talk to you about, your healing journey and how I might be able to help with a plant-based lifestyle.
What?
This wine is organic. Joe just didn't tell you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
All natural.
Something.
Grapes.
It's all natural
It's
something.
made with soy and yogurt, I think. Whole wheat.
Looks like I'm the only one that's enjoying this
Yeah,
show.
thank you.
So I'm gonna.
Whole wheat, something or other. Yeah.
Here, wait, top me off.
All
right,
I,
so-
you off?
I only got
Okay.
a little bit in my glass. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
I know.
All right.
It's
So,
good.
what are your thoughts? Identity politics.
Oh, okay.
Only women get to talk about abortion. Only minorities get to talk about race issues. Only gun owners get to talk about gun laws. There's a fun one that nobody ever considers. You want to ban guns? Oh, do you own an AR-15?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Huh?
I think
You don't own one, so you can't talk about it.
Exactly.
I don't think that is right. There's my opinion. My
There you have it, folks.
So I'm gonna go. I'm done. Thank you.
There we go.
So much.
That wraps it up. Thank you. Good night.
Say good night, everybody.
No,
Da, da,
you might have
da,
taken up
da.
my minute. I only get a minute.
All right.
You can
No.
have part of my minute.
Okay,
Yeah, I was about to
awesome.
jump
We'll
right
share. We'll share minutes. No,
Share minutes.
I think that everyone's entitled to an opinion. I think that the perspective that comes from the opposite party, we'll call it, is valuable towards what may be considered right or wrong. So I think that, I'm a woman, so only I can speak on abortion, or only I can speak on female things, is not accurate, because I think that men maybe can put a perspective to that we didn't think of. Men have children too. So, and I mean, it goes into any of the parties, any of the categories I
Any
understand, or
subjects.
topics.
Yeah, and I want to be clear to those tuning in today. I don't want to get into the weeds discussing abortion or pick your issue.
Right.
It's not about that, right? And if you want to discuss that, hop over to the group page, because that's what goes on there all day, every day. Literally 12,000 comments in the last 30 days in our group. That's insane.
Right?
In a
That's
cool,
awesome.
in an awesome way.
That's awesome.
The group is very active. We have almost 4,000 members in the group and over 2,200 active members in the last 30 days. So it's
awesome.
a very
Clinkable.
Yeah, it's tremendous growth.
This is
Yay.
growth. I haven't been here in a year, and wow.
Yes.
We can't read.
There we go.
So, nutshelling it,
Yes.
I would say I think that perspective should be open. I think that opinions are valuable on any side. But also there is something to be said for experience.
Exactly.
So
I'm sharing your minutes too.
that's okay. That's okay. No, so that's my nutshell. Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself.
Okay.
I get in that spiral.
That's all right. It's a rabbit hole that we all
It
get sucked
is.
into.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I just think that I mean, I didn't grow up like you grew up, or like he grew up, or she grew up. So I mean, I don't have an opinion on everything, and it's not fair to say that only my opinion matters or your opinion's not valid. So
I don't want to hear what you have to say about male pattern baldness.
Yeah, he suffered from something.
You don't know what I've been through.
I do have an opinion about that spray hair.
Oh my God.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Why is that?
I like
That
being
should
bald.
be a
Honestly,
that should be a topic.
I like being bald, but I have to tell you, I would love to try that.
Does it sweat?
Just for nothing other than
Does
just
dissolve
to
like
experience
mascara?
it.
Like if it
Okay.
gets wet, is it water repellent?
I'm just saying that needs to be like an Instagram story experience.
I want to like be
scenes.
completely bald and just spray my whole head with it, and just to see how
Well,
it
you've
would
got
be.
part one of that taken
Do
care
we
of.
Yes.
Do we tape off?
Right? Painter's tape. I mean, how does it work?
Wow. Is it like spray paint?
You tune in, I got that blue tape. Like
You need to wear glass, you know.
Yeah, I like that topic. That's a good topic.
Amber is very nervous about discussing
It's
the
tough.
topic.
Yeah, it's just tough. I think it's tough to talk about polarizing topics.
Very true.
It's just a tough subject to talk
And
about.
welcome to why we do the show, because
Why no wine show?
we have been told from a very young age not to talk about what?
Right.
When you're in public or in
Money,
business,
religion, and
what do you talk
politics.
about? Right. Exactly.
No politics.
No politics,
Or your
no
ex.
religion.
Your ex.
Or your ex, yeah.
Are you ex?
And,
No exes.
and the reason, to me, that is just absolute insanity, because it assumes that we cannot ever reach a maturity level where we can discuss things as adults. It assumes failure. It assumes that we are going to tank and turn into a bunch of morons.
Then it
And-
leads to apologetic conversation too. You're like, I'm sorry to say my opinion, but
Yeah.
this is how I think about it.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, if I never practice talking about tough issues, right, and practice empathy and practice respect, I'm going to suck at it the first time it comes up.
I love that.
So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I never talk about it, and it's building up, building up, building up, and somebody finally mentions it, and I'm like, 100 miles per hour.
Terrible diarrhea.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have a heart attack and stroke, and because you
Right.
finally get a chance to express
Express
yourself.
yourself.
Right. I'm like, the whole premise of the show is let's talk about
talk about
all of the important stuff
Now.
and
All
just
of it
not be
now.
jerks to each other.
Yeah.
What a novel idea.
Here's to not
What a
being
concept.
jerks to each
That's
other.
clinkable.
Yeah.
That's clickable,
Thank
Jen?
you. Thank
You
you.
should start a show.
I know. That would be a good show,
Call
wouldn't
it
it?
the wine show or something.
Mine's the one with the lipstick like curly all over.
Yes.
If anyone wants to know which one. I just think that the way you grew up definitely shapes who you are and how you feel. And it definitely either marks in a positive way or a negative way how you feel about certain things. So, any human I think can weigh in on every single topic.
Sure.
I definitely think that that's a tough spot to put yourself in, because I'd be lying if I said I had an opinion on every subject. Hopefully that doesn't make me sound vapid.
No.
But I don't have
Not
an
at
opinion
all.
on every
Makes you
single
sound-
subject.
Anybody that
but-
said they did have an opinion on
Yeah.
every subject, I would worry
Question
about.
mark.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I would
I
worry
think-
about.
And I think you're right. As
A valid
humans,
opinion,
we have
yeah.
to get better at listening to the other side and not getting uber emotional with getting caught up in only hearing what we have to say.
Yep.
So I think that's super important. We got to get better as humans at that part of adulthood.
I genuinely believe, and I say, people look at me sideways when I say this all the time. I literally say that the most serious issue that we are facing in America today is our inability to have civil discourse. And people are like, come on, that's the biggest problem we're facing right
Yes.
now, right? They start going down, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They start going down the line of like, oh, what about this? I'm like, tell me how we solve any of those if we can't sit at the table and discuss those issues. I mean, we're literally like rioting the streets and flipping cars over and setting things on fire. That's how we disagree in America now. Like,
Yep.
it-
Or that's how we express
right,
our
right.
disagreement.
Right, right. It's just craziness. So I'm like, let's just practice it, and let's have a little grace when somebody gets it wrong, and let's educate them along the way on how to disagree. We have a rule on the group page that says if you perceive that somebody has insulted you, stop the conversation immediately and address it. Say, it appears that you have meant insult in your last comment. Am I perceiving that correctly? It appears that you're trying to insult me, right? And frequently a person will say, no, I did not mean that as an insult, and they clarify where they were coming from. And sometimes their clarification still sounds like an insult. In which case, then they're supposed to tag a moderator and bring a third party in,
Right.
right? So now a third party comes in, somebody to be objective.
Yes.
So I'm like, imagine if we did that in life. It's like, let me ask. It seems like you were just trying to be insulting in what you said. Why do you feel like you need to do that? I want to hear what you have to say, and I'll make you a promise.
Mm-hmm.
I will do all that I can to hear you and understand your position and respect where you're coming from, even if I don't agree. Right? And all I ask is you do the same for me. Is that cool? Like, what person's going to flip out on you if you actually did that in a disagreement?
Only one that is not well.
Right, exactly.
Mentally.
Exactly. And that would save you a lot of time.
It would save a lot of
Because you're
time.
like, all right, I don't need to go any further.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I do
So,
believe
all right,
that
so what are your thoughts?
believe that opinions should be based on some reflection. And a lot of times that we open our mouths and give opinions on things that have some depth and can be polarizing, as Amber says, that we have not reflected on it to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, most times we should speak in facts because facts cannot be disputed. Opinions can be disputed, but there should be some reflection that you've given it some thought. You've actually thought about it to some degree without just opening up your mouth and just making some statements. That's where I think a lot of times we run into a lot of disagreements. But if you've reflected on it, I think we should all value where I may have reflected on a woman right to choose whether or not she wants to have an abortion. Though I've never experienced a pregnancy or an abortion, but I may have reflected on it where I can give some insight. Or a Caucasian person may have thought about the lifestyle of a black African American in the hood. They've reflected on it to a degree. Whereas even though their experiences may not be connected to that, they have given some introspection about it.
Mm-hmm.
They've thought about it to a degree where they may have put themselves in that condition. And then their opinion has some value. But when we speak just off the cuff, where we have not thought about it to any degree, that's where I think we run into a lot of trouble. So opinions are fine, but I think there should be some reflection, introspection, or some degree of, you've thought about it to a degree.
A lot of salience in your points, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well stated. Well stated.
Wow.
Yeah. Cindy's like, I just disagree with everything you said.
She's reflecting. She's reflecting so she
Yes.
can have an opinion.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what? I'm finding some opinions in here. No,
Yeah.
we could go so many directions.
Oh,
and we
yes.
could break this down. This is what
I
I
have a
love
couple,
about
2-3
this
cans
show.
of worms just sitting over here.
Exactly.
Waiting open.
I can literally say, you know what? Hey, if you're a badass, talk about anything, and just as long as you got a couple of things to back it up with something, substantive, like Mark says, that you've reflected on. If you've got something to bring to the table, then bring it. A lot of times, what I feel like one of the problems is people who feel like they're knowledgeable about something makes them knowledgeable about everything, and they start spewing off information that only reflects what they read last night in a paragraph. And so there's not a lot of thought to it. There's not a lot of backing. There's not a lot of anything that gives it any meat or value other than the fact that, oh, I learned something and let me just go crush somebody with it. That to me is, that's a buffoon to someone that would do that. And we have a lot, unfortunately, we have a lot of that. The other side of me says, you know what? If you haven't walked in my shoes or her shoes or his shoes or her shoes or their shoes, the millennials, like, how can we speak to everything that we have zero experience with? I'm a Gen X. I can tell you all day long what it's like to be me. But I can't tell you all day long what it's like to be you. I can only make assumptions. I can tell you what I read in a book. I can give what I know about you based on my experience with you. So there are so many variables that we talk about. Now, is everybody entitled? Yeah, we can all say what we want to say. That's the freedom of speech. But don't, and it's okay. But also be ready for the backlash of that. If you have not experienced anything, to really go into or create policies based on what you haven't experienced. Making laws based on what you don't know the third degree of, or the first degree of, or 1 ounce of some information. We need to do a little bit more research, probably all of us and everybody. That would be great. I would love. I mean, as you're I'm a creative, a creatress. So when you're sitting there talking
like
about, creatress.
That's a cool word. I like that.
That's a clinkable. Y'all clink.
Females creative.
So,
Tris.
but only I can talk about it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So I'm like, Joe, well, you know what? I'm an educator. Started school on how to do what we're doing right here. Not the wine part, but you know.
Sure, that part too.
Yeah, definitely for the teachers, of course. But what if we could teach people how to disagree civilly? Why isn't that a course? Why are we brought up to be and
that's a good one.
You know, to be ingrained and drilled on how you're going to think, because this is how we've always thought in our families, and this is what we've always eaten in our families, and this is what we've always believed in our What if people just allowed people to have their own freaking opinion and thought, and this is what I want to do. I want to actually question everything that my mother and my grandmother and my grandparents. I want to question everything. What if we did that?
Yeah, I tell you what. I think there's a lot from our education where we've kind of gotten side railed in some of the purposes of education these days. But if you look at a classical or neoclassical education and how they approach some of that stuff, and the point of the training, the point of learning the roots of language, Latin and all this sort of thing, going through that, debate and going through and learning the point or the process of debate and all that sort of thing, that there's tremendous value in those things. I think we've gotten sidetracked with some of our education, I really do, but and, you know, that's a whole nother show.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I would be first in line for teaching people a critical analysis process, learning how to dissect.
It should be mandatory.
Yeah. There's some very basic skills that are applicable throughout all of life that I think we're missing in our education for sure.
In the mainstream education.
Yeah, in the mainstream education. Yeah.
I think there was something interesting.
I would say
said.
that.
Sorry.
Go. No. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
100% yours. 100% yours. Go.
I thought it was interesting that you said that often people will read something or learn something quickly and then announce as if they are an expert in that industry. I think as much as that is an issue, I think the other side of it too is we need to be aware that there are people like that, and we put too much value in what other people say. I think equal to the point of people say crazy things. The other hand in that is that we also shouldn't put a whole lot of value and take it for a grain of salt if someone doesn't know what they're talking about, and don't get so offended by it. Just move on.
Move on.
So that was all my point.
Yeah,
was gonna be.
no, that's
And that just speaks to being in aligned, being aligned with who you are. Like,
right.
Know you,
and that's
know
where
thyself.
And that's where my opinion of anybody should be able to speak on what they want. I agree, though, that there should be some weight put into what people are saying.
Right.
But at the end of the
Especially
day,
if they're in power, if they're in a position to make or break.
But I do think that we should be responsible in our discourse, even if it's just an opinion, where it may not be based in fact, but it's based on something that has been given some thought, and just some casual, empty-headed, comments. I don't think should be considered an opinion.
Right.
We have now relegated opinion to be just some loose idea put out into the the public discourse.
Very true.
And now that's not really an opinion. An opinion to me is some type of educated guess or some type of reflection of what you have thought about it to some degree,
based on your level of thinkability.
Or
they're not sure. You got
I save lives.
I was going to say,
I'm based on him.
My opinions have to save some lives.
There's a difference in an opinion and a scientific opinion too.
I think that's something that's hard for us, like as kids all the way through adulthood. Someone says something about you or to you, or you hear it through the grapevine about yourself, or rumor, gossip, conjecture. It's hard for you. Like, you immediately accept it as fact about yourself when you hear it. You're like, oh, she thinks I whatever A, B, or C, and you're like, it wrecks the rest of your day. And so just their opinion is hard.
And why?
Maybe not you. Well, I don't know. With females, I think maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm generalizing.
No.
No.
It's hard.
And it's so
isn't
true.
it?
No, that's why we have, butt injections and all this foolishness going on. So, but
just
why?
for the record, I do not have butt injections.
No, yeah.
What?
I don't either. And
Where did that come from?
You know,
I'm
just saying.
I'm just
We're talking about now. We're getting now we're getting into
all about hers.
It
Okay.
automatically segues into
Well,
a
I
level
do,
of self-respect, self-worth.
Yeah.
No
Because
judgment.
if I can easily come out here and say, Joe, why you wearing no socks? Ew, like, and you run home
Because I got sock
and now-
game.
You got sock game.
game.
And now, but I've distracted you so much by my opinion of your socks that now you can't even go out here and perform.
Yeah.
Now your show, you can't sing. You sold out audience, but I've wrecked you because my opinion invaded your self-worth so much that you are now.
I think that's hard for kids all the way up until it's something that sometimes you never grow out of. Yeah.
So we got.
I think it's you know, as a kid, you can definitely you can definitely be shattered by that and carry it through life. I don't know. I could put a finger on it. I grew up with an alcoholic, abusive dad, and that creates all sorts of isms, right?
Yeah,
And my whole relationship with him, I used to sum up in a single comment when I would tell people my experience with him. My relationship with him was he was very much about if anything went wrong in the house, anything broke, anything whatever, it was always 100%. It was my fault. And about the age I started getting to, starting to bow up a little bit, we get into this fight, and yeah.
You bowed up?
When was that?
Biceps start,
Yeah.
above 10
I-
inches.
That never happened. But I did get 2 black belts.
Okay. Ooh.
So-
I told you.
Oh,
That
yeah.
happened.
So
in this house.
Yeah.
about the time that teen testosterone starts kicking in, and you get a little cocky. We were verbally arguing, going back and forth, and I said, if a telephone pole fell over in Chicago, you would blame me for it. And he looks at me and he goes, you would probably have something to do with it. And I just was like, and thank you for proving my point.
Yeah.
That was just his attitude.
Yeah.
That can crush your spirit in
Yes.
life for
Oh my
sure.
gosh.
But yet somehow I ended up in life to where I can genuinely say 99% of the time I don't give a flip about somebody's opinion.
Exactly.
I really don't.
You use it for fuel, don't
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes
I
that
mean,
gets flipped around.
To the point where the wife will be embarrassed for me. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm taking martial arts. I train in staff. It's like my favorite weapon. I just think it's beautiful. I mean, like when it's done right, it's so elegant and graceful yet deadly. And when I play pool, I can't help it. I got a staff in my hand,
Right.
and I'm twirling, and there's music, and I dance, and I'm like doing my thing with a staff. And the wife, on more than one occasion, like people are staring, and I'm like, I don't give a flip.
It's embarrassing.
The wife poked her head around the curtain of the show and said, it's embarrassing. Yeah, and that is literally the only reason I care is for her. I sure don't care for me. I'm like, y'all can stare all you want. I'm like, you got anything hateful to say? It's because you
See,
can't do it.
I think
Right.
that's awesome when that happens, and it's
why y'all are
definitely the exception to the rule, because the rule is you're scarred in your childhood.
It either becomes
keeps
fuel.
with you. Exactly. The exception to the rule is you take that and you want the opposite for your life.
It either makes you or breaks you.
It
And-
makes you a breakthrough. You use it to overcome.
Exactly. And
So-
that's what
Not
drew
succumb.
Me.
To
Go ahead.
bring it back to the subject,
Yes.
right? Because I kind of had this all in
That's
mind.
your job, to mediate
Right.
and to herd these cats.
Yeah, well, I'm chief among the cats.
We're
So
running down a rabbit hole
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Getting down a
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
I'm just a cat with a GPS. That's it. I'm all over the place. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta follow her. Supposed to know where I'm
A
going.
cat with
Yeah.
a GPS, I like that.
But if we look at the definition of to opine, there is some form of informed position.
Yes,
It's not just in a loose
I agree.
I'm so glad you're here.
presentation.
So
Such
check
a
it out.
good word, opine.
Opine.
To
That's a great
opine
word.
Spell
is to-
opine. I've never heard that before in my life.
To opine
I've
is
never
to
heard it, but it
give
sounds like the root
It's
of
a
an
a
opinion.
position that has some depth of understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just believe that when
I'm a
we
big
do
fan
that,
of the opine scent, actually. So.
you know,
Are y'all opinionist?
I like Fabuloso. Can we talk about Fabuloso,
Fabuloso.
for a second?
All right,
Yeah.
look, I'm gonna bring it back and
Yeah.
open
I like
the first
Fabuloso
can of
too.
worms.
Lavender.
Oh yes.
Got to open the first can of worms.
All right, let's do this.
So everybody alluded to and touched on that having experience in an area can lend some credence to an opinion. Let me flip that on you and ask, do you think having an experience can cloud objectivity and even impair objectivity.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. Sometimes experiences tend to jade your understanding about things because you now have lost your objectivity and you are now pretty much down that rabbit hole, as y'all would like to use, and now you're basically reflecting on whatever that particular subject matter is based on an experience that has caused you to now be narrow in your perspective.
That's what we just talked about with being scarred as a child by a certain phrase or certain thing, and it sends you down that same path to only thinking that about yourself. It's a similar concept.
Let's get a little touchy here.
I was about to say, let's go there.
Right? I've talked to women who have had abortions, and it gets very sticky very fast in the conversation about statements I'm making from a position of detachedness and just looking at data to that being judgment. I'm like, whoa, where are you getting judgment from out of this, right? And the person reacts to their experience, not to what I'm saying. Right? I've experienced the same thing on race issues. I've had friends that have grown up in very middle America, wealthy parents, whatever, minorities, and they're like, my experience has been entirely different than some of my friends' experiences. And when I talk to them about race issues, the immediate take on it is very different than when I talk to other friends on race issues. And I've definitely experienced in trying to have an objective conversation on, I named two big issues, and those are two easy go-tos for divide
Let's
and
talk
controversy.
about the alpacas. Let's
right?
be real.
But whether it's guns or whatever, guns is another one. I grew up in the sticks. I grew up around everybody had guns.
Right.
I got my first rifle when I was 8.
I have one now too.
Do you?
Yes.
All right.
Don't leave home without.
Right. Come on. Look, but I mean, you have a very different opinion on them when you're raised with them. It's like
Right.
I got my first rifle when I was 8. I was a freaking marksman by the time I was 10. Shot and killed game, cleaned it and prepared it myself at 10. Like
Wow.
I could go and be sufficient on my own in the woods and live as before I was even a teenager.
I didn't know that about you. That's fun.
So I had a very different opinion about rifles. Yet my wife, on the other hand, wasn't raised around them, and we had a rifle in the house. She was like, I don't know, we don't have the rifle. It's like it was a totally different reaction, totally different reaction. And so I've gotten in other words, I'm trying to tie this back to the subject about experience and objectivity, right? And so the ability to be objective sometimes. How do you guys feel about experiences clouding objectivity?
I think that we have lived, from a race standpoint, isolated lives. You have lived an isolated life where you don't see the conditions that may have that person acting that way, being on guard, being a target in many regards. So you can't conceptualize what they're going through. So living an innocuous life to a degree where you've kind of been separated from that, it's hard to really value or empathize what they have gone through. A woman that's giving birth or considering abortion. As a man, as you pointed out, it's hard to really understand that. We would be detached in our conveyance of our ideas about it. We may speak, extemporaneously to a degree where we're saying something, but it doesn't really mean nothing. It doesn't have any girth of understanding to it, because we have not experienced what it is to carry a child and what it is possibly to give that child up, in terms of an abortion. So sometimes it's really best for us to not have an opinion about it, because it doesn't have that. It doesn't have any. It's baseless in terms of.
It's pointless. It's like
it's pointless.
It's just
futile.
I like
So,
I like that.
So let me ask. A friend of mine, Bobby Bryant.
Bobby Brown or Bobby Brown?
Bobby Bryant. So the very first show we had, funny side note, I had two Bobbies on the show. Both have been longtime friends of mine, right? Bobby Bryant is an African-American male. Bobby Beasley is a past high school student of mine, white guy. By the end of the show, we're all drinking wine, and it's all in good fun.
Yeah, right.
I was calling them Bobby White and Bobby Brown.
You bring those two back to the show, and I'm coming on.
It was fun. It was really fun. We had a great time with it. So anyway, I was going to kind of challenge this. Bobby Bryant told me it was back when the whole Trayvon Martin thing was going on, and I'm looking at data and all this stuff and just arguing, man, and I had the whole world upset. Right, I mean, like people ban my business and all kind of stuff, you know. And I met with him later on. He's like, Joe, he says he's like, I've known you for years, right? And I hate the term I have black friends. Right? I don't have black friends. I have friends. Some of them happen to be black. Some of them happen to be Asian. Some of them happen to be Buddhist and atheist and whatever. I don't pre-qualify. I have qualifiers, but they're always based on intelligence and, you know, things of like the ability to have a civil conversation, right? That comes in all flavors, right, and all type of opinions I don't agree with, but I appreciate the ability to have a good argument, right? And it sharpens me and it makes me think. That's what I look for in life. Anyway, so I'm talking to him, and he's like, Joe, he said, I know you don't have a racist bone in your body. He goes, but you have to learn empathy. And that was a transitional moment for me, right? Because I'm approaching the conversation almost with a goal to be like Spock in the dialogue, right? Completely unemotional and just completely detached from emotion, right? And thinking that's the best thing to do, right? Because it allows me to be truly objective. And that may be true purely from a scientific means, right? But I learned from him, and then trying to put it into practice, that whether the person's right or not is almost less important in this, in that they first have to feel understood, right? There's no forward progress in the conversation if they don't feel understood, right? And so that's why one of the rules of the show is seek first to understand.
Yes.
Right? So we really have to try to understand where the other person is coming from so we can get perspective. An amazing thing happens when that. And I promise, I talk a lot, but I have a point.
I'm enjoying it.
Of course you do. Yeah.
I come back to the idea, for instance, in racism, right? I'm like, what's at the heart of racism? Is it really just skin color? It's not. It's
Economics.
not that. There's a whole bunch of things,
Yeah.
right? There's positions of unknown. There's positions of superiority, inferiority. There's all sorts of things.
Okay, so number one, if you were asking me, I would say number one would be fear. Number two would be economical development. What would number three be? What you just said?
Unknown.
Well, no, the second thing you said.
Inferiority, superiority.
Okay,
Perceived or otherwise.
That was just based on having to justify the economics exploitation.
So I'll tell you where I'm going.
Bottom line is the bottom line. That was
So I'll tell you where I'm going.
Go ahead
right?
with that.
I didn't break 5 foot tall until I was in high school.
So you had the Napoleon complex?
I was frequently targeted and bullied by specific people in my life, right? I got involved in martial arts specifically because of one kid, right? And were it not for his dad coming out and physically removing the bat from my hand, I would have taken his life, right? I was ready.
I didn't say the F-bomb. I didn't get an F-bomb.
I was over that edge. I was over that edge of, you need to be removed from the gene pool, right? Because your thinking process is so dysfunctional. It needs to be stopped, right? And so, in that sense, if we practice empathy, I can completely understand what it means to be ostracized I can completely understand what it means to be on the outside, not part of the group, looked down on, and bullied and attacked through that process.
Regardless of
Now, I can make that
context.
transition and leap across multiple categories, right? Because what's at the heart of abortion is the woman wanting to have control over her own body, right?
Yes.
I want to have control over my own body. I don't
Right.
want
You don't
bullies.
bullying.
Right, like I gotta run home because I got kids to deal with, and all this
bow
kind of
down to
stuff.
somebody.
Right, all this stuff. I can make that transition looking at racism. I can make that transition looking at police brutality. There's a bunch of different ways if I'm practicing empathy.
Empathy.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Across the board.
That
Very
I
good
can
point, Joe.
I can see these across the board.
Yeah.
And so I think I think we exclude people from the conversation who may have a lot of valid input into the conversation simply because they're not in our group, whatever that group may be.
I'm gonna adopt that as my opinion too. I'm just saying. You said it way better. You said it way better than I was thinking. So
Samesies.
samesies.
Do we have any comments on the thread? We haven't even taken a commercial break.
Yeah,
we need to take.
We do have comments because I've seen them on my phone.
Okay. So we're gonna do a commercial break. And, we keep playing Phil and Derek's just because it's a really cool commercial. I love the Phil and Derek's commercial, and which John Cruz, really good friend of mine, one of the coolest cats I know, and we disagree all the time on stuff, but we do it over cigar and wine, so it's cool. And if you haven't had the opportunity to hop down to Phil and Derek's in Midtown, it's a jazz bar. They have live music there all the time.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a really happening place. I can't recommend it enough, and I would say that whether he was a
Cool
sponsor or not.
place.
Yeah, it's a cool place. So, jazz bar, wine, great wine selection, mixed drinks, full bar, and really excellent food. So we're gonna run a commercial, and when we come back, we're gonna throw up some of your comments on the screen, and we're gonna dive in and see what y'all have to say.
Dun, dun, dun.
Phil and Derek's Restaurant and Jazz Bar, located in the midst of bustling Midtown in Houston. You'll find a laid-back atmosphere and ambiance reminiscent of the comfort of your own living room, coupled with a flair of pizzazz and glitz from live New York-style cabaret entertainment 7 nights a week. Phil and Derek's is not only the ideal restaurant with a great, long-standing wine selection, but also with a full bar as well. Phil and Derek's stock and knowledge of wines from Napa Valley wines, French Bordeaux, Spanish and Argentinian wines, just to name a few, are the envy of wine connoisseurs far and wide. Phil and Derek's Sunday Brunch was voted Best Morning After Brunch for 3 consecutive years. Come indulge in the ample buffet of crepes, omelets, various salads, meats, complimentary mimosas, and much, much more. Enjoy delicious foods from the kitchen until midnight. We're equipped with large dining areas, ideal for every party need, whether business or pleasure. Come see and enjoy all that Phil and Derek's has to offer.
Everybody's jumped on their phones. They're reading comments.
We're trying to figure out what comment they're gonna pick to put on the screen.
Yes. So the only way you can make sense of it sometimes is to go to the minute where it's commented and then listen to it like the minute before.
Oh yeah.
I have to do that all the time because I respond to all
That's a
the
lot of work.
I respond to all the comments on the comment feed. It
Right.
takes me like 3 hours. For real.
Kudos to you.
So it's tough stuff, but that's part of the show, you know? I want
Yeah.
everybody's opinion to feel like it was important. So, Dee Franklin, who is one of our moderators on the group page, she's my token liberal.
D? What's up, D?
I'm sorry, Dee. You know I'm playing. She knows I love her. She's actually going to be on the show next week. Yeah, super sweet gal, great artist.
Oh my gosh.
And she is a smart gal. I have they're reacting to your comments, Dee. So Dee Franklin says, my problem is the makeup of the Senate making the laws is so predominantly male, deciding female reproduction. There are no women at the table.
Can I?
So how does that affect identity politics? So go ahead.
Someone has an opinion.
I'm just gonna say, one of my mentors in the women's bodies, women's wisdom movement is Christiane Northrup. She's actually an MD, and she's an OB-GYN, and what she focuses on is women tapping into who they really are from a goddess perspective. Now, she's a... What do you prefer?
Just say what it is. I don't even know what you're talking
She's
about.
white. She's
Oh. See, this is proof positive. We all struggle with this.
Yeah.
All of us.
It's okay. But because we're
black?
friends,
I don't know
like,
what's
I
the
can
right
just ask,
word.
like, what do you prefer? What's
Yeah,
the white?
I don't even
what's
care.
the white word?
But for a second, I was
white.
like, what is she? Is she
I
a
know.
murderer?
Right, I
Like, what's
She's
the
a serial-
What's the white right?
She's
there's-
Icelandic.
Because I'm gonna tell you, African Americans, we went through 15 different labels. Okay, we're black, we're Negro, the other one.
Yeah.
the other one, So we finally agreed to African American, I guess. I mean,
I don't like that
Look, I'm
term.
black.
I don't either.
No.
Well, we're going to
Okay.
eventually.
Anyway,
evolve to
Christiane
African-
Northrup,
from African descent,
She
as
touches
Chinese
on this
consider
D. I'm
themselves.
so glad you
That's
brought
where it
this
should
up.
be.
That's where it's
I'm
better
better with
where it's
that.
headed.
I'm talking about.
Good.
But someone else defined us, so we have to go with who we
So-
we
Woo!
were
You're the
defining
talking
ourselves at
stick.
one
Go
time.
ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We were very disrespectful to Miss Cindy over there. So
Exactly to Dee's
Go ahead.
point. Even though there are other women here, it's still when a man's voice is being spoken, there's for some reason.
Males
there-
Ooh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm talking right now though. See, it's but see,
Yep. I'm on
but
your
it wouldn't be
same-
nothing without a woman or a girl. So don't get that twisted ever again. Okay. So
Hey.
it's a man. So because
I'm glad
of this,
she's saying that. It would've
because
been-
of the fact that
Same.
we are in a westernized,
we have nothing to win here.
male-dominated,
All loss.
or so they think, male-dominated society, it is they get to make the decisions on how our bodies are going to be dealt with, and not only that, it is assumed that a woman is supposed to undergo all of these different tragedies and within her body, and I don't understand that. That's why I became the person that I am today, because of that particular practice and that construct that a woman is supposed to have horrible, menses, horrible, experiments on her body, horrible surgery. It's just a matter of fact that it's supposed to go down like that, and it's not the truth. When it comes to female reproduction, ladies, let me just say this. We have to take control of our own health and our own wellness journey. We cannot leave it up to the constructs of the male who has never experienced being in a woman's body. It is, and we can go back to, now we watched Joy DeGury the other day, and she talked about the man who constructed all of these devices that crack us open for the well woman exam, the so-called woman exam, and we got all these devices that go in and through us. I can go on and on. I know this. I'm going on a rabbit hole. But D, my problem is the exact same thing, that we're in a male-dominated. They get to make decisions on how our body is going to reproduce. I don't think so. I think that. Come on, Kate. Kate's like, oh my God, I'm about to.
I just want to say, first of all, I love all the things you're saying. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying. However, even as a woman, which has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, so I don't know why you're I would like to
As
say...
a person with short hair.
She's not saying however. She's saying in addition to.
No, actually, I am saying
Oh, it is a however.
It is a however.
There's a however.
And here's the however, is that everything you just said kind of goes against everything we started saying at the show about... Like, at the beginning of the show...
Like, anybody can have an opinion.
We all kind
Yes.
of talked about...
She beat me to being host because
Yes.
I was going there. I was just waiting for my
we all
less
kind of,
than
we all kind of
equal
mentioned that
male
everyone
opinion.
should be able to discuss
Yes.
certain things regardless of their experience, but experience heightens a situation. And Joe even mentioned his experience with being bullied for being short in a way can translate, after lots of translation, to empathizing for a woman in her experience.
Okay. Yeah.
So while I agree with what you're saying about female power and kudos
It's
to
not
all
power,
of us,
it's just-
no,
it's just-
I know it's not. It was just an
But it
easy,
is, but it's
easy
not
way to,
that. It's
it was
not
an
like a
easy way to
movement.
phrase it. It was just an easy way to phrase
Okay.
it. My point being, while I agree that the men in
Power.
don't
Make
necessarily
decisions.
experience it firsthand, I still think that the opinions that you're portraying go against the idea that anybody can have an opinion, which is
Well,
what we
not
all
so-
opened the show by saying.
Sure.
So that's all I
Okay.
agree with what you're
Very
saying,
good
but
point.
also it kind of contradicted
Good
what you
point.
said at the beginning.
Good
That's
point. I'm going to come back with some facts because Mark,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
scientist, says that we have to back by facts. But hold on.
Absolutely.
D,
Back to what I was
D.
saying.
Franklin,
Hold
if I
on.
may say something,
Oh, God.
D, I agree with you that
See?
men have dominated our world for too long, and that women should now assume their rightful position because we need that balance. Men are more rational, women are more emotional, and we need that balance between two.
And not
That
only
women
that,
should be at the table.
and not only
We
that,
should
women.
be yang
Okay,
and
when
the-
we look at okay.
I have
Let me get
D, I agree
Let
with
me
you.
get
D.
this straight.
I was
When-
gonna
when
make
when it
Kate's
comes
point.
to
D,
for
I agree.
example, Joe, just one point. When it comes to a woman's wellness layout, how expected is it that a woman would have a surgery versus a man?
D,
I don't-
I'm
do you
not
mean
sure I
the-
understand
do
the
you
mean
question.
the stopping surgery?
Okay, we're talking reproduction, reproductive surgeries.
Right.
Okay.
Men want women to have it because they think it's demasculating. Is that what you're saying? The point
I
you're
don't know
getting
what,
to?
what,
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
I'm
well,
just
I
talking about the
understand.
numbers. I'm just talking
what
about
do you
numbers
mean, though?
right
I
now.
don't understand the question.
So when it comes to laws,
Right,
earlier
I-
when I said
I
as
understood
long
her
opinions
question.
are great, as
Men should
until
not be making
laws
those
are
laws.
being made that can suppress or oppress or
Infringe
take
on rights.
infringe on the rights of another group or class or set, right?
Right.
And
think
that's
y'all
what
are talking about
happens
two
in our
different
wellness. Our world in America is a westernized, militant way of thinking. It's a big school of thought that says that's based on war. Okay, when in doubt, take it out, cut it out.
Yeah,
If it's
she's
a
talking about
cancer in the
hysterectomies.
breast, cut it out.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
what I was
Yeah.
saying too a second ago.
That's why I've actually I knew where she was coming from. With
You
that,
knew where
which
I
is
was
why
going.
said that
You-
y'all were talking about different things.
Women should be at the table.
At the table.
determining-
That's all I'm saying.
No,
making
I
these
agree with that
decisions.
too.
So
I
this
should be
agree,
at the
absolutely
table.
do.
When-
Because we've lived in a male-dominated world, men perspective on
It's
that
to go to
has
war
dominated the woman's body. And
Yeah,
women should
I-
be
Go to
at the
war. Go
Do
to
you have
war
a
with it
perspective?
because
I-
we're
I-
a war-minded society.
I definitely wanted to address Dee's comment. The objection you brought was that was going to play host, and that was my host comment.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Took it
that's
from you.
No, that was
beautiful.
very
Beautiful.
valid.
It
Very
gave me
valid.
time to drink wine.
There
so
you go.
Wonderful.
So wrap it up.
My total comment to D is then run for office.
Oh, yes.
Joe.
I would
You're
vote.
putting her on the spot.
Because
I
at the
would.
end of the
Me
day,
or D?
at the
Yeah,
end
I'll
of
vote
the
for D.
You're
day,
putting D on the spot.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I would vote for D too, but I would. Yeah.
at the end of the day, my point
I'm
is
running.
this.
Just don't
D for
say-
president.
My point is this.
Just don't look into what I did back in the 90s.
Oh,
Right?
well, maybe I wouldn't vote. I don't
I
know.
voted for
Let me take
Hillary,
that back.
D.
I don't know.
So
I voted for Hillary.
my point is this: is that like in the income inequality thing, when we talk about income inequality and women make less, I'll stir the pot and really
Okay.
make people mad and say it's bogus, it's
Yeah.
totally false,
Wow.
and then the reality is,
Wait, what?
and in the reality, like I
Wait, I
said,
was agreeing until like what?
right, that's why I said I was being intentionally confrontational, but
Oh, okay.
I definitely still have that opinion. There may be some variances in it, but by and large, it's a complete myth, and there's a big reason why. Good, bad, or indifferent, if you look at the top 5 paying jobs, they are dominated by men. Engineering jobs, electrical engineering, aeronautical engineering, go down all the math science
Any kind of
jobs.
mathematics.
Like it or not,
Scientific jobs.
men gravitate to those jobs, and they happen to be the highest paying jobs. You look at the 5 lowest paying jobs, the only one that a man dominates is in clergy. All the rest of them are female dominated, and they're low paying jobs. So that's part of the income inequality. So my point of saying all of that was to come back and to say that, like it or not, when it comes to governance and governing, the male persona, the male psyche, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it,
Yeah.
is more inclined
Yeah.
to step up and do the job, right? And
Or
so,
take the job.
or, step up, take it, do it, whatever word.
And
I
that's
don't
it.
want
Amber, you don't have a wait a
Okay,
minute.
I
I see
think
Amber has something she wants to
that's
say.
not
on
our
it.
Not
topic.
take it,
What-
Joe.
That's not
but
our
like,
So,
topic.
but we're addressing this.
Amber seems like
But
she
my-
wants to
So,
have
weigh in,
something.
and
so
I wanna
do it now.
for example, I've never been married, so I don't.
It's certainly
However-
not all. I didn't mean to say, like, again, I would said, this isn't an assertion of all. It's not a mass. It's a generalization. In other words, in general, men go towards careers that are the top paying careers,
And
right? And in
why?
general,
And
men
let's
tend.
talk-
right?
let's go a little deeper.
So,
So
so my
why-
point is,
It's a lot
to
of
solve the
diversity.
problem, women have to
What?
step up and get involved.
But they're
you
still
can't
being
complain
like-
about it
but-
and not do it.
Right, but okay. So is the man going to take the lead role in the rearing of the family and the holding and being the CEO of the home? And
Wow.
because you
That's a
got
very
that
good
whole
point.
other situation.
Absolutely.
So women
Uh,
are trained, not me, but most women are trained to be, raise kids and raise the house and and be that person. So they don't even think about, I gotta go out here and make 6 figures, and take care of, So
here's the thing. I think
That's
you know
my goal.
one yeah.
Just kidding.
that's what I said. I'm not
One,
that one, but
I play
the
both sides of
majority.
the I play
We're
both
talking
sides of the
about
aisle
her
on
numbers.
this.
We're talking about her numbers.
One, for me personally, and I can just speak for me in this. I don't care, male, female, or otherwise. I didn't vote for Hillary, not because she's a woman. I could care less about that part.
She's more
There-
knowledgeable
there
than Donald.
are many. I didn't vote for either one of them.
Thinkable.
For me, Hillary is one of the most immoral, corrupt politicians ever
They
to
got a-
enter
they got a
into
That's not the topic, though.
politics.
I'm just
That's
saying.
another subject.
Right. Well, I'm saying.
Just saying. Putting
So
out that fire.
it was that. Why I said that.
We're gonna
was-
need more wine.
It was
Yeah, I'm
that
gonna
that kept me from
cap me
voting
off
for her,
there, yeah.
not because she was a woman. I can name numerous women that I would have been happy to vote for. Condoleezza Rice being one of them, over Hillary.
Oprah.
I can go down the list of
Would
many
y'all vote for
different
Oprah if she
women.
ran for president?
No.
No, politically she does not align with me.
Yes.
I love Oprah. I wouldn't vote for
I like Oprah. Yeah, I like Oprah. I like a lot of her
I like Trump before he was
philanthropic.
a president.
Who?
Oh, I didn't.
Who?
I read his books. I
Oh,
mean,
Trump.
He's a
I didn't.
joke.
I don't say.
He's a
I
joke.
thought
Me-
he was cool. He was cool.
He's a
before.
joke.
Yeah. So anyway,
I read his
I don't
books. I
want
would
to get
say
too in the
that.
weeds.
I
I don't want to
I
get too in the
got-
weeds.
We're in the weeds now.
I got a
Yeah,
couple
so-
nuggets
yeah.
on
Not me.
business.
So
the weeds.
We're in the weeds.
So-
Not this girl.
He's a
Thailand
joke.
over here.
So my point is to say that
Joke.
I can't speak for all men in this statement, and I haven't done any kind of polling or surveys or read the data
You're gonna
type thing.
spill that wine, bro.
But for me, I could care less, male, female, or otherwise. I'm
Okay.
looking at stances on specific
Right.
issues,
Right.
and I'm going down the line and saying yes, 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 no, 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 whatever. And the one that has the most tallies is the one I'm getting
You
behind,
put it on
right?
paper. Yeah.
And that's easy to do in this day and age. I mean, there's literally tests you can go take to see what candidates you align with. And I've done those in all the last elections since they've had those tools. So I know who I'm voting for and why I'm voting for them. We have the government we deserve. That's the sad thing. And so if we don't have enough women in government for UD, which I agree, I'm 100% in
Why
statement with
do you
him.
think that
I
is?
like the balance. I love it. My wife absolutely makes me a better person. Absolutely.
Would you
And-
want Kim to run for office?
I would vote for her in a second. I can tell you, knowing her for 24 years, there's no in hell she would
Y'all
ever
are
run.
anomaly. What
would never
what
run.
would you vote? Okay, when you talk about there are not enough women need to just go and run for office. Like let's just go do
Look.
it, everybody. So why is that not the case?
Look, as a man,
question is directed to you.
we have it's directed at me, and I will answer as best as possible. We as men have really screwed things up. From
Woo, that's clickable. We're done here.
and I think that women,
I disagree with Mark.
But I think that we need the balance of a woman's perspective
Yes.
to come into government, come into every aspect of life, science, all aspects, education. Women, we need women to inject themselves because that they will bring their experience, their balance of how they see life, and we men, she pointed out, we see life militaristically. We see life in this aggressive fashion, and it has
Everything's a
caused us
conquest.
yes, a conquest. Beautifully put. Beautifully put, Joe.
Yes.
And we now need women to come in with that compassion. We need women to come in with that grace, and we need that now.
I
And
agree
think
that
women need to come into
requires
place.
women to interject themselves.
Yes.
And not be tugged at and pulled into it. I agree that it takes more women who have the stance of I'm going to do this now and I'm going to go for it. But
Naturally.
exactly. More women who naturally have that. And you're right that a lot of women don't naturally have that. A lot of women naturally have insecurities that prevent them from doing that.
Why?
Social
It's a
Why
construct.
are women insecure when it comes
Social
to coming
construct.
to the
Women are
Yeah.
insecure for the
Social
same reason
constructs.
that men are
This aggressive. The social,
aggressive.
Are
the
they-
social constructs of our society has
And
created
it's
this
societal,
aggressiveness in
and I
men
think that it's
and
not
this
something that's
docile
going to be
attitude in
fixed
women.
quickly. It's
All right.
not something that's just going to be
I
fixed.
want to make this quick comment, and then I want to get to a couple more comments because I want to make sure we get at least a couple people in here.
Oh, but that was such a good one.
It was a great
great.
one. That's why we
Dean.
talked about it for a long
Thank you,
time.
Dean.
Be for
Yeah.
president.
That's why we talked about it for a long time.
Dean.
Team D Franklin. Hashtag.
I will yield to your opinion to a degree where I said I disagree with men.
Go ahead.
I think men, by the nature of men being men, which I celebrate,
I love
Right.
it too.
right?
But I'm,
And our society is trying to beat that down. And if anybody that doesn't believe that, all you have to do is watch TV and find the first commercial that comes on, and you got about a 90% chance that the guy in the commercial is going to be an idiot who can barely get out of the house without tying his shoes if it wasn't for Supermom saving the day.
Right.
Right? So our society is demasculizing men,
I never thought about that.
and
It's true, though.
take a sitcom. With rare exception, the guy is always the bumbling idiot, and the wife is the brilliant, save the day person who the family would just fall apart with if it wasn't for
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right.
that's been beating our heads now for about 30 years, right? And I love Mr. Rogers. Nothing against Mr. Rogers, but that's been put up as the perfect example of what a male should be. This very effeminate, soft
Yeah.
male, right?
I like Mr. Rogers
And,
too, but won't you be my
So here's my position in saying this, is that I think masculinity should be celebrated. We
Yeah.
were meant to be. There's a book called Wild at Heart. Everybody should read it.
I've been thinking about it the whole time you've been talking. I'm just saying.
You read it?
Men,
I haven't read Wild
men
Heart.
were meant to climb
Captivating.
things and
Right.
blow up things and be freaking wild and
Yep.
scare the crap out of you ladies. And that's the way
Yep.
we were meant to be, and it's freaking okay to be.
Yep.
Right?
Is it not
Now-
okay for girls to kill Barbie dolls and climb the trees and beat their brothers to death? And in every sport, like, is that not cool?
It's
Or-
nothing wrong with that. I will say that for the same reason there's not many women in politics, is that there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Just that typically by wiring you don't go there.
Right.
All right? By wiring, and this is actually my flip side of the point, by wiring, all the things he was talking about, we need that grace, that empathy, that caring, all that stuff. By wiring, you do that naturally, and you do it better than men.
Yes.
Right? You do it better than men. And that should be equally celebrated.
Yes.
Right? And so here's where this plays out, to me, in a really ugly way in the feminist movement. In that, if you say, I love being a mom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I like taking care of my home. I experienced it with my wife. She was judged as less than, right? Not being out pursuing the career and trying to bring home the 6 figures. Hold up. Why is that more important than being a great mom?
In the
Because
home.
she was bad to the bone and still is bad to the bone. One of the greatest moms I've ever seen. Just in all the great stuff that is our kids, she's 90% responsible for.
That's what he says. about
Right?
it.
But Joe,
And-
that's because us men have not given the credit to the women as we should have.
And that's why
Women-
there's your
Go ahead.
acquiesce. That's literally what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
That's where I feel mankind's failed the most,
Yeah.
is not to recognize the greatness that
Yes, you
is
should.
that. Because, if you want to go look, it's in the book, and it's called Captivating.
Captivating,
It's
that was where-
it's the counterpart to the book Wild at Heart.
Okay.
It's the woman's book, and in that it explains to me, and I have a note I wrote on Facebook about it. Go read it. It's about Ezer Kenegdo, In the opening of the Bible in Genesis, when it says, let us make for man, and we have in the English this lame freaking word, let us make for man a helpmate. Right? It's like, it sounds like you hired a servant.
Oh my
like,
gosh, I've been struggling. I struggled
I
with
picked
that.
up a maid, and,
Yeah,
and she's
maid.
my helpmate, right?
Well, just-
Makes me dinner,
Yes.
you know, right? And
that
it's
is
where he's
a
going
premise
with
that
this.
women
So,
were reared on. It's
listen,
like-
which I don't disagree. That's the failing that I was talking about, where I think men have failed
Yes.
in recognizing the greatness, right? Because when you go back to the Hebrew in the word, that's where it really gets bad to the bone, powerful, off the charts. It says in Hebrew, let us make for man Ezer Kenegdo. Ezer Kenegdo literally best accurately translates as lifesaver alongside.
Wow. That's
Right?
exactly-
Lifesaver alongside.
Amazing.
Now, here's where it makes what hair I have stand up on my head. The word Ezer Kenegdo was only used 22 times in all of Scripture, which is a lot of words. Only 22 times Ezer Kenegdo was used. It was used once for woman, and it was used 21 times for God, when God came to the saving side of man. Right? When man was in a desperate situation, and God was Ezer Kenegdo, lifesaver alongside of man. And so that's how God described woman. Let us make for man this lifesaver alongside. And get really geeky, but there's the movie, the Lord of the Rings, right? And you have the main male character, Aragorn, and he's just this bad to the bone dude. And you have his elf princess girl that's his love interest, Liv Tyler, right? And Frodo, main character,
Love Frodo.
he's
Oh
been
my gosh.
stabbed by the ring wraiths. He's dying,
Yeah.
and Aragorn is using all of his skills to keep him alive, but he's dying, right? He's dying.
Gangrene.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
It's straight up. He's gonna die. And they're running from the ring wraiths the whole time. They're right on their tail, right? And so just barely one step ahead of him. And in comes Liv Tyler. And she gets off the horse, and when she walks in, Frodo sees him. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah.
Yes.
And she's like, "Don't worry, I'm here to help."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh,
Here to save the
yes, right." And
Perfect
so
example.
so now the two of them are having a conversation, Aragorn and her, and she says to him, "We need to get him to my father's land."
Yep.
Right, so we can get him healed.
Yep.
And he's like, "Okay, yeah, good idea." He goes, "I'll take it." She's like, "No, I'm the faster
I'm the
rider."
faster rider on the horse.
Yeah. And he's like,
She's badass. Oops.
yeah,
bad
it's all right. And he's like, okay, valid point. It's like, all right, that's true. All right, but it's too dangerous. The ring wraiths are right on our tail. And she's like, I'm not afraid of the ring wraiths. It's like, and your point, you know? And so he's just like, next scene, she's riding with Frodo on the back of the horse. You know, it's like, yeah. In other words, it was two equals with very different skill sets having a conversation of mutual equality, mutual respect, saying who's the best equipped to handle the problem at hand.
And she's beautiful. She's feminine. She's elegant. She's
All
a
those,
goddess.
and it's all celebrated.
Y'all haven't
None of
seen
that's
I
downplayed.
haven't. I know
It's-
that's embarrassing.
No,
It's
That's
it's
embarrassing. I've
a
never
it's an
seen it.
epic movie, but that is the perfect example of what an Ezer Kenegdo is, right? And that's where man has failed. To
promote
man
that,
needs
to-
not be
yeah.
threatened.
Yeah. We are threatened.
But why?
We're
Yes.
threatened.
Because we're conquest oriented, and we're wired for that. We're wired for
To
threat.
suppress
Whether
the
it's
one
guys,
Well,
whether it's guys, whether
You're
it's a
in
job,
conquest mode. You're right. You're
Right.
gonna
It
suppress
doesn't matter what it
anything
is.
that's going to get in your way of conquest. You're gonna suppress.
which is why I will tell you that been together with the wife now 24 years.
24
and if I've ever been asked or 25, yeah, seems like 50. I don't need comments from the peanut gallery. Woman.
Good thing. Good thing.
Wow.
Kate bailed on that one. I'm gone.
Kate had to make a run.
Yeah. Anytime anybody's ever said, remotely, how do you pull that off? For the guys, I'm like, I give you advice, guys. I will say it's very simple. You keep them as you win them.
Keep them as you win.
Right? So in other words, whatever I did to win her heart, I better be prepared to do forever. right? Because we're conquest oriented.
Yes, sir.
So in other words, when I win the prize, the trophy that is the girl, right?
Yes.
I put her on the shelf and I go on to the next conquest.
Yes.
That's the way men are wired.
Well, Joe, if I may piggyback on that.
Please do. I'm done.
You better
I'm
take
done.
some more
I'm in a-
questions,
I'm in a
Joe.
rela-
Next comment after he's done.
You made a very good comment. I'm
You
with
got us
on
talking
that.
for like 20, 30
And
minutes solid.
D, you rock,
your
honey.
comment pretty much is so
Has
salient
she been on the show?
that we're gonna dwell on it.
Is she-
But let me say this, Joe. In terms of relationship, I agree with that. Always put her first. But at the same time, we're men, and because we have been molded in this society, please, women, allow us to be who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and we should also celebrate who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And in that balance,
Absolutely.
we hopefully where my rights end, yours begin, and where's yours end, mine begin. And where I'm weak, you're strong, and where I'm strong, unfortunately, you're weak.
For a minute, that was like the lyrics to a Marvin
I
Gaye
know,
song.
right? Like,
And then it went.
down. I'm like, where's the music?
All
And then
right,
it
Amber.
crashed.
It crashed? Okay, well, I do a lot of crash and burn.
We got to try. All right, let's take one more comment and we'll wrap it up.
I was trying to be discreet and you
I
guys
know.
That's
called me
all.
out.
I called you out. Jordan.
Joden Malik says, I am on the field playing football. I have my coach watching me. After the game, he gives me third-person tips on how to improve my performance. But his butt can't go out there and do what I just did on the field. So there is respect for each other's point of view and ability.
Wow.
Boom.
O-M to the G-E-E-E Jordan.
What's the phrase? Those who cannot do, coach.
Wait a minute. And you know what? Jordan.
Those that cannot-
What you say?
Well, I mean, it's
How many great players make sucky
Hold
coaches
on.
though?
Yeah,
Let me-
I mean, it's
Amber,
something
what'd
that
you
you
say?
hear in every,
Like
I
most.
think, business and in every like walk of like those who cannot do teach or
Every
those who cannot do
situation.
coach. But I think some people are just inherently better at teaching others or finding what others are good at or their skill set. Some people, that's their gift, that's their thing.
Yeah. Everybody has a freshman class. Jordan, I feel you. Is that a man or a woman?
Joden's man, yeah.
Hey, Jordan. What's up, bro?
Lives up in Maryland,
What's
if I
up,
remember
Jordan?
correctly.
So I
I
feel
like
you,
that.
bro. Like seriously, you're on point. And I have that same issue. If I'm gonna go to someone for advice or physical training or something,
yeah.
get my hair done, and their hair looks all
Heyo.
out of. Wait a minute, how you gonna do my hair and your hair ain't been done since Huck
But
was
could
a
you
pup?
make the argument? Maybe they just like they say the cobbler's children have no shoes. Like maybe you have no time.
Well,
shoes?
the other thing is this, Amber, you got a good point. So I'm not knocking that. I'm saying
Clinkable
Jordan
moment.
is right.
Acknowledging good points.
Jordan is right. You can't coach me. You can't sell the dream looking like a nightmare. Okay, first of all.
I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt.
You
That's
cannot
a good
sell
real
the dream.
estate just adage.
You know what I'm
It
saying?
is.
You can't sell the
you
dream.
cannot
Can't sell the
looking like
dream.
a nightmare.
Looking like a nightmare.
Yeah.
That's
However, your
That's
coach,
good.
You
if
can,
your
but it's a lot
coach
harder
is
work.
giving you the tips and the nuggets that are working for you and are serving you, then you need to take heed because
That's what
everybody.
he's saying.
Yeah,
is
so
that
I
there's
gotta flip the script
respect
on
for
him
each
on that
other's
exactly
points.
what you're saying, but I gotta flip the script on Joden and say the coach's job isn't to be skilled at your job,
Right.
right? Let's say you're a
Well, I
wide
think he's
receiver.
agreeing with that.
Let's say you're a wide receiver.
Should he be a wide receiver
I
like
think-
you?
If you're a wide receiver, I'm paying you to be really fast and have sticky hands. All right, that's what I'm paying you to do. As a coach, my skill is to know the other coach's weaknesses. My
Not to
job,
be able to get out there with
Right.
you and beat you. At
so
your
I
game.
can't run fast. That's why I'm not a wide receiver. All right, that's why I'm not doing that job. If I was faster than you and I caught a ball faster than you, I would just be a wide receiver.
Okay, but
But
are
instead,
you
I'm going to be a coach, and my skill set is to do that job.
are you qualified to coach me at being
Exactly.
the sticky fingered dude that
Right.
you want me to be, and your fingers are straight peanut butter, like you
as
have
a-
no grip at all. Like
Now that's So
Absolutely, he
now
is.
that's very valid. So if you get into if I'm trying to give you pointers on how to catch the ball, right? Or
and I
very
have
much
never
more
caught a ball.
right, exactly, much more specific. I mean, can it be done? You know, I could study enough data and look at, hey, look, I noticed every time you try to catch the ball, you're rotating your hand this way. I've studied 20,000 videos of all the best catchers in the game, right? And so I can objectively observe you're making this mistake.
Yep.
Right? I've never caught a ball in my life.
Yes.
But I have enough objective data to offer.
Well, I'd like to point out that's actually what he's.
That's what he said at the end there. So there's
a little at the end. There's respect for each other's point of view.
Each other's point of view and ability.
But he also says that he's giving third-person tips. So he's not saying this is my experience that I know how to catch the ball. He's saying from what I've seen, this is how you should do it.
From what I've seen, what I've researched, what I've studied.
So you guys are agreeing with
but
what
the best
he's saying.
teacher,
I just wanted to say that's
the
all.
best teacher is one that has been in those shoes.
Yeah.
And has done
well,
it.
they say
is
also
that
though.
Is that true or is that opinion?
The best teacher.
Is that fact or opinion?
They say
I'm in all regards, and Jordan, I could catch the ball. I could teach you. Wait a minute, Jordan, call me if you need. I can run the route.
Shameless plug.
Hey, Jordan, I can run the route, and I can talk the talk, and I can walk the walk. Would you want someone coaching you that's 300 pounds and it lives on donuts? But
I would also like to point out, though,
are they
while
Shipley's
it's
or are they
right gourmet? I mean, what are we talking about here?
But the point is, the best teacher is
no judgment to any donut lovers watching the show.
But the best teacher is one that has gone through those.
But they say the best student is the teacher. Once you're able to teach, once you're teaching someone, you learn more about that subject when you're teaching them than you did before. I've heard that about a lot of things,
I agree,
too.
even more so. You can add on your experience.
So, and obviously in a physical experience like this, football, that may not be the case because if the coach isn't the one out there playing, so they're not learning any better, but they're learning from the behind-the-scenes stuff, the research, the knowing the other coaches, the other things. But typically, it's not always. I'm just saying that it's
there was a baseball movie, I think it was Brad Pitt, and it was about what revolutionized the game of baseball as far as Moneyball. Right?
Look at you.
I know nothing about sports, but I do know.
Same here.
I remember that one. Wow.
Brad Pitt.
Same
here. That one out.
Therefore,
Brad Pitt. That's what it is.
Can weigh in on
that's
that.
what the.
So
she has an opinion because
my point
Hollywood. I have opinions.
This guy had no knowledge of sports, but he had knowledge of data and data crunching. And all he did was start applying data crunching to recruiting, and he built like perfect team, and they won it, and that totally revolutionized the game of baseball and how teams are built. And
I've actually
everything
never
else.
watched that movie, but thanks for that nutshell.
Yeah, that's the
watch that,
that's
for
the
sure.
super short version. And so again, data and objectivity was king, right?
But a lot of times you can't use one circumstance and
certainly
broad stroke it for every situation.
Sure. Well,
call me if you need a real coach.
Back to the room.
You need a
real coach.
Back to
I play the game.
Pretty Cats.
I love the game, and can still get out there at my age and still do what you do.
You see,
Jordan,
you seem pretty.
that was a little messed up.
How old do you think
I
he is?
apologize.
I don't know how old he is. I was gonna say he seems like he could.
Thank you, sweetie.
I was
Because
just
I
saying,
can.
I feel like you
got
could still
frickin'
get out there
animal.
and do whatever it is that you're supposed to do.
Farm
do
of
it.
animals here.
They have literally like every pet.
You
can
name them,
imagine.
we have them.
Oh,
So,
Joe,
do you
I'm
have
really
a hedge-
feeling that.
this is
that
like
one.
way
We had a
off.
hedgehog.
Do you have a hedgehog?
We did.
It is my dream to own a hedgehog and put it in little socks. That is the cutest thing I've
Y'all have a
ever
hedgehog?
seen.
Hedgehog socks.
We had a hedgehog,
They're
yeah.
hard to hold them.
They're hard
What all do
to.
y'all have right now?
Literally,
They're hard to deal with.
My
What all do you
Instagram
have
feed
now?
is
That's an
nothing
off
but
the shelf.
hedgehogs and
Rats.
little socks.
Mice.
I want to see
Geckos.
the. I want to see the rats.
Later.
Ash, can you bring down some grits?
Can you bring a rat too? Can you bring?
Can we not do that till I leave?
Yeah.
Would that be
Oh,
okay?
girl, I
They're
had a
super cute. They're
rat
super cute.
once before.
They really are. All right, so we're gonna rate the wine that we had.
That was good.
That was
Lazy Lab Chardonnay, and it's a North Coast Chardonnay from California. It's a 2016.
Northern California. Southern California.
It's a Northern California.
Northern California.
Yep, Northern California. Yeah, it's unusual. It's unusual.
It's kind of strange.
It's a unusual region. And Chardonnay Lazy Lab. I'll have a picture of it, and we're gonna rate it.
really good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
All right,
And our rating?
Kate.
I mean, it was okay. I kind of liked the box better.
The box.
The box is good.
But you said earlier it was oakier, the bottle
Yes.
was, and that's probably why I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a connoisseur.
That is a
like I
common
said earlier.
distinguishing factor in Chardonnay.
It had a very specific
Is the amount of
flavor
oakiness.
that I couldn't put my pin on, my finger on, and he said oaky, and that's probably what
That's
it was.
probably what it
so
was.
Yep.
it was okay. It wasn't bad. I'm not a huge Chardonnay person all the way, so it was fine.
Yeah, I am gonna go like 2.5. So I'm gonna give
So
you
slide.
like.
So here's how you do that. I'm gonna teach
How
you.
do you
Yep.
do it 2.5?
So you hold it like this.
Ah, okay.
Yep. There
So
you
I'm
go.
gonna go 2.5 simply because I tasted the Meyer lemon really
Yeah.
strong. It was
That kinda
almost like
Yeah.
a cleaner, like a
Yeah.
yeah. It was really strong. And again, I'm not a huge white lover anyway, but yeah. Anyway,
You're a red girl.
yeah. I guess
I'm a red girl.
I'm a hater, I guess. So I'm sorry.
Don't let anybody bias your opinions, by the way, because it's wine and it's subjective.
Don't listen to
Yep.
me. I'm an
It's
equal
wine and it's
opportunity
subjective.
hater.
If there's anything
Yeah.
we discussed today, it's that everyone's entitled to their opinions.
I'm going to go with a 2. I'm not a connoisseur or a virtuoso of wine, but
One is the in
look,
this case one is the
I
least.
have
By
a
the way.
little
Least.
slight inebriation.
One
One is the
least.
least.
Should you
Well, I'm going with a 2.
One is the least, like lowest value. 5 is the best.
yuckiest?
You only liked it at a
5 is the
2?
yummiest.
Okay, let's. Now that the inebriation, bam. I'm going with a 4.
There we go.
I was gonna say I thought he liked it. So
I thought
that's
he
why-
I
liked
liked
it.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought
I
he
liked
liked
it.
Yeah, yeah.
The inebriation kind of changed my thinking, and this is the
Or is
rating.
it the women influencing your decision?
Right.
Yeah, well, I go with a 4.
All right, 4.
Yes.
All right, good. Cindy.
Alright. So
This opinion brought to you by the
look,
glass.
that was one of the best Chardonnays I've ever had. I never drink Chardonnay. If I do white, if I drink white, it's a Pinot Grigio, a Sauvignon Blanc. I don't do Chardonnay. That was the best buttery. It was delicious from start to finish.
Wow.
Start to finish for
That's
me.
the beauty of
my palate,
wine.
my
It's
palate
totally
is
different.
special.
This though.
It's totally
So,
different.
I feel
I'm
like I
gonna
want to
get-
change my
matter of fact,
answer on the test.
Let's do
I'm
4.5
wrong.
on this.
No, because
Let's do 4.5 on this
Yeah, it
joint.
wasn't-
On this
4.5.
I'm gonna go 4.5.
Dang.
It was really good to me, and then the box just opened everything up for me even more.
The box was good.
The box,
Box
was
was
opened up.
magic, huh?
But the
Hey,
buttery,
that box is good.
But the
box
puppy,
is
what is
good
it
wine.
called?
Can we mention what the box is?
What is it
just
called?
for
The puppy?
viewers?
Puppy?
Puppy.
It's called Lazy Lab.
Lab. I knew it had something to do with a
Yeah,
dog.
Lazy Lab.
Labrador.
Yeah.
Lazy Labrador.
The box of wine, for those who want to know, is Vela Chardonnay, and I will tell
It
you,
is good.
I tell you that Vela makes the best box wine when it comes to Chardonnay.
What's your rating?
My rating is a 3.5. Yeah, it's middle of the road for me.
Middle of the road, okay. You had better.
I'm a
Oh God.
I shared
It's a tail.
I shared Amber's opinion in that definitely tasted the lemon, right? And I'm not a big lemon fan, right? So that was part of it, brought it down a little bit. It was overall it was a really smooth taste. That was the part that took away, and then the oaky kind of aspect of it as well. I wasn't as keen on. I'm not big on the oak thing. So that's not that. If you like oak flavor, you're gonna
If
really.
you like
you're gonna-
Chardonnay, you probably would actually like the wine. I
Yeah.
just don't particularly care.
For me, it wasn't bad. It was very middle of the road. You know,
What I
3.5.
liked about it was that butter, like the buttery. I love a buttery and flavorful. And then you
We had a-
mentioned
we
the
had
I
a-
lemon.
wish you would have
didn't
said that
say
before
that.
we drank it all. I probably would have tasted it again, looking
Tasted
for the
it
butter, and probably tasted
Oh,
it.
it was good. It was
I tell you, the best Chardonnay I've ever had. We had on the show. It's an Australian, Southeast Australia, which is kind of like their Sonoma Valley. That's their higher end wines. Was a it looks like or spelled like Yankalila, right? But it's pronounced Yugalila.
Oh, I remember that, Joe. When
Yeah.
was on the show when we
Was
had
I on the
It
show with you on
was
that?
I
so
think so.
freaking
It rings a
good.
bell.
It was
And we were
It was
so
pronouncing
good.
it. We were struggling with.
Yeah,
Yeah. It
You
rings
look
a
at the
bell
word;
for
it
me
was
too.
Yankalila, but
Yankalila.
apparently the Australians say Yugalila.
Ugalila, and
So-
we were making fun of the.
It's like it's an area. It's
don't
like a
know.
land region or something. So it's pronounced Yugalila.
yeah.
It rings
So-
a bell, and
That
I
was
feel
good.
like that one was.
I think
good.
you were there.
It was like it was an all 5 rating.
Yeah, right.
It was.
Oh,
fan,
well, then that
it
was-
was fan.
I don't think I've
freaking-tastic.
ever voted 5 on a wine on your show. 'Cause
fan
I'm
freaking
apparently
tastic.
more snobby than I thought.
Yes. So, I
was ringing.
want to thank you guys for tuning into the show.
Thank you.
We're going to have the rating up on Instagram tomorrow.
Instagram.
We're gonna go live on Instagram on the after party. Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we have enough argumentative things to say for the after.
Oh.
We don't have to. We don't do arguments on the after. Do we?
I don't think we
it's
have
gonna
enough
continue.
disagreement.
converse. We just converse.
Yeah, it's a
Conversate.
conversation.
So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Another great
Yeah.
show. Fun
Enjoy it.
dialogue.
Definitely.
Really great points all the way around. Some
Yes.
great comments on the comment feed. Thank you for sharing the show, being a part of the show. Be sure to hop over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. The Whine Wine Show on YouTube. We just hit finally 200 followers over there.
What?
Woo!
So-
Hey, it's about to be a million hits.
It's a slow roll on YouTube. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, we
YouTube is
get
saturated.
we
No, we gotta-
literally
we gotta
get like
separate it.
25 people a week on the Facebook page, and it's like
Hey,
you know one
I
a
can
week
tell you
over
what's-
there.
I can tell you why. It's because
You're not here.
you're the leader of the show, and your favorite platform is Facebook. So you have a natural tendency of pushing.
I'm
Facebook.
on Facebook just because there's dialogue and posts.
Right.
and
No, I
there's-
just
You
mean-
gotta
I just
start
mean-
posting to
You can't do
you gotta
that on
start-
YouTube.
Okay, so what has to happen for you
I post like crazy
We're gonna
on
talk
YouTube.
about it later.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about it.
well,
We'll talk about it.
But you
All right.
We'll talk about it.
every single day.
And we're going to be back next week, Thursday, for the artist edition of the show. And I tell you what, you guys, the artist edition of the show, we have a Grammy award-winning, not nominated, Grammy award-winning artist coming up in 2 weeks. We had a gal on the show a few weeks ago, Savannah Akins, who after the show got picked up by American Idol. And
After the show.
after the show,
That's cool.
Nice.
Oh, we
that's
were
huge.
absolutely a catalyst for her getting on
Yeah,
American
no,
Idol.
that's what I mean. That's
They
awesome.
they used her performance from the show as the interview, and
awesome.
yeah,
That's a
so she went
clinkable.
on. Yeah, heck
I need
yeah.
more wine.
We need more wine.
Yeah,
Here
we go, here we go.
Show you when the wine is
Mark,
good. What
Mark.
happens?
Mark.
You need me to go to work
Take
on
care
it?
of it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I will.
So anyway, my point is that the artist edition of the show has
You just
really,
go ahead
really
and
been
get your
growing.
glass right here.
And starting in September, I might as well start mentioning it now. Starting in September, we're going to move the artist edition of the show to Saturdays at 2
Amber?
p.m.
You through?
Saturdays
I'm
at
good,
2
thank
p.m.
Good?
Okay.
So that's going to be a
That's
new
new.
thing. That's going to be a new
That's
thing.
new.
So.
Yes, I'd like
Okay,
some more, please.
yes,
All right.
I mean,
Guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show. Share the mission of the show. We're creating disciples of the show. Share it. Spread the gospel. We're saving America.
yeah, we're drinking
One-
wine.
Wrong one. Wrong one. Wrong one.
We're
Wrong one.
out.
This one.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Woohoo!
We're drinking wine.